Yes, we're live. So at least that's what I hope. It's a bit of an experiment, as it's the first time we do the live stream on our site. And thanks for everybody who's joining. And we've already got some questions that have rolled in. But before we do that, I just want to announce that as of 15 seconds ago, we're allowed to say that we have won another Design and Innovation Award for 2017 this time. Last year we won it with the Up, and just now we won it for the One Plus. So that's pretty exciting for us as a small company. Obviously, we don't do any marketing or advertising or sponsorship. So the way we get the word out about our stuff is through you, our customers, telling your friends about it, and through things like magazine reviews and awards. So we're very happy that the jury of the Design and Innovation Award has given us this award, and I think it's a pretty nice award. It's new, but what they do is they take a bunch of real experts and real riders, and for almost 2 weeks they put them up in the Alps and they ride all sorts of stuff: mountain bikes, road bikes. They try all the clothing and everything. So they really test the product. It's not like you send in a photo and they say, "Oh, that looks nice." But they really test the product, so it's great to get the thumbs up from them and add that to the I have to say remarkably long list of awards. That's much more than we ever expected, Andy and I, when we started this. So I do need to check very briefly here on what the first question was that it's come in. Oh yes, it's about Pinion. What do I think about Pinion gearbox? So I like the Pinion gearbox. I think it's very clever. It's a great design. Because the weight is not quite there yet for at least if you want a combination of the weight and the range. It's not quite there yet for the lightest of light setups, and of course that's what we specialize in, especially with the One Plus, which is trying to make the lightest possible setup that's fully functional, not some crazy setup. So I do really like it. I like anything that's all encapsulated and low maintenance. But maybe we need to wait for one more version before that's really also possible with the lightest setup. So, and somebody else, or maybe the same person, probably the same person, because I don't know how many people are interested in the Pinion, also asked if we have any thoughts of making a Pinion a compatible frame. We don't have any plans right now. And if I had, and I told you here, we'd probably have to figure out who's all logged in and kill you all. But we monitor it. We're aware of Pinion. We look at it from time to time, just as we look at hundreds of things. And if the time comes where we feel that it's an appropriate technology and it really does what we want to do, then we'd use it. And that rule is very simple for us. If at the moment where Andy or I think, hey, we want a Pinion gearbox on our bike, that's the moment we make an open that is suitable for the Pinion. And that goes with all technologies. In the end, we build the bikes that we want to ride. And so that also applies to us, using the technologies or making it compatible with technologies that we want to use ourselves. And I think that's a strategy that's worked pretty well so far. I think we're pretty similar to most of you out there. We're not, we love riding. We're not, crazy downhill freaks. We like to stay alive and have fun riding and just enjoy the pureness of it and the exploring and just, everything that a bike can give you. So if we think there's something out there that makes that experience better, we'll jump in and use it. So I have a question from Tony, and that question is ETAP. If I think ETAP is suitable for the Up or not. He also refers to a blog I wrote recently about ETAP and the limitations to the tire size. Pretty much around 30 millimeter tire is the maximum. So does that make it suitable for the Up? Well, look, if you, I happen to, just by pure coincidence, my this side, my Up is here behind me, and it's set up with 30 millimeter WTB exposure tires. Just a great tire to ride in the winter on the road. Extra grip and fast rolling and all those sorts of things. So if that's the kind of tire you want to use on the Up, and you don't really want to use anything bigger, then yes, ETAP is perfectly suitable for the Up. But of course, we also know that almost every up owner, buys the up because they want to do more than just ride with 30 millimeter tires. They want to go off road and they want to put on 35 or 40 millimeter tires, or maybe go to 650B and put on 50 or 54 millimeter tires. So if you really want to use all the possibilities of the up, then ETAP doesn't work yet. I'm sure SRAM will fix this eventually, although probably not that soon. So if all you want to do is ride road and a little bit beyond that, and you can do that on a 30 or 32 millimeter tire, either smooth or a light cyclocross tire, then yes, you can use ETAP. But if you really want to take advantage of all the opportunities that the app gives you, then ETAP is not yet the best solution. If you do want electronic though, and not ETAP, then of course you can go for DI2. Another question, if I've seen the new Motion France forks. Yes, I mean they were on Kickstarter, which was not really a success. It sort of is, Rodney says, a beefed up version of the Lauf. Sort of, not quite, as the the spring action is in a bit of a different location, and there's some other changes. So I don't know. I mean, I think everybody's seen the same thing, the Kickstarter campaign. Whether it really works, whether it works better than a Lauf. I think the Lauf, for what it is a pretty smart and optimized design. So for that combination of suspension and lightweight, I think Lauf has really hit the sweet spot there. So if you realize that it's not a full suspension fork, it's not like you get all the performance of, say, a lefty, but at a pound less weight. No, you get a bit less performance and less weight, and I think in a ratio that's pretty fair. So I don't know if somebody else will come out with a design that has a better combination of weight and performance. We'll keep a look at it. Sort of like the Pinion, right? Right now, the Motion fork seems to still be a bit of vaporware, but if they get it developed and out in the market, for sure we'll put one on the bike and see if we like it. Next question from Steven about bottom brackets. So he asks, if you have a standard press fit bottom bracket, are the sleeves long enough for the wide BB386 Evo bottom bracket shell? So there's two answers to that. First of all, it's not absolutely necessary for the two sleeves to touch, especially if they're plastic sleeves and the sleeves don't do very much really. So the bearings are sealed anyways, so there's no weather protection needed from these sleeves touching. There's no stiffness that comes out of these plastic sleeves. So it doesn't really matter if the two sleeves touch or not. So in that sense, if you're in a bind, say you're on vacation and something goes wrong with your bottom bracket, your local shop only has standard BB30 press fit bearings that don't have very long sleeves, that's not a problem. You can put those in, you can ride those forever. If you are looking for your ultimate setup, then of course it's better to have the sleeves that touch, or have a setup that maybe doesn't even have sleeves. Like if you have a C-bear or a Kogel bearing, which I think are probably some of the best bearings to use right now, especially to combine any sort of crank, also smaller 24 millimeter axle cranks with the bigger bottom bracket and these sorts of things. Those bearings work really well. Or if I think the ultimate bearing with a sleeve right now is the Enduro Torque Tight, which has aluminum cups and aluminum sleeve, and they thread into each other. So especially if you have a problem with bottom bracket creak, the Enduro Torque Tight seems to solve that for everybody I've talked to at least. So just because it tightens everything up and it connects everything together. There, of course, it is important that you make sure that the sleeve is the right length so that you can actually thread it into each other. If that doesn't touch, then there's no torque to tighten on the Enduro Torque Tight. Another question here from, that was a different person. Now I come across this Pinion, whether we will make a bike with Pinion. So it's two separate people asking for it, or maybe they're friends or pseudonyms. But it's good to hear that some of you are interested in it, and we'll definitely keep following it. So Matt asked about the full suspension and the time frame for that. We'll probably come up with some information on that later this month, so not right now. But yeah, we'll have some information for you on that in a couple weeks. Then I got a question from Anton asking, do you think 1x11 will cross over to the road from the gravel and mountain bike side where it is now? Yes, absolutely. I have absolutely no doubt. I've been saying this for a long time, and so far I've been wrong. So, but I think it's just a matter of time. You know, the only disadvantage you could say are the steps that are a little bit bigger, but the difference really isn't that big. I mean, if you have 2x11 and you know your effective gears are maybe 14 of them, so from 14 to 11 gears, especially if you think really well about the ratios you need, I think that problem almost goes away. What I mean by that is that, you know, yes, by 2x11 you have more gears, but out of those 14 effective gears, a lot of people are never in their biggest gear or they're never in their smallest gear. So if you really think about what you truly need and get the 1x11 cassette for that, then I think you can have steps that are very, very close to what you have today. And I think also there is some room for cassette makers to make smarter cassettes. So now you see, I think, a lot of cassettes that are not really optimal yet for 1x11. So, I mean, on the mountain bike side, of course, that's been solved. You have a 1042, you have a 1050, and a whole bunch of other cassettes. So that really works. But a smart 11-speed cassette that really works well on the road, that doesn't exist yet. But again, that's a matter of time. So I'm sure that will happen, and that when that happens, the advantages of the lower weight, the simplicity in shifting, aerodynamic advantages, all those things will come to the fore. So yes, I do see 1x11 taking over road as well as it has really mountain bike already and is doing with gravel. Wow. A question from Anton. If I have any idea why most Olympic track bikes are black? That's a good question. Back in the day when I still made track bikes, ours were in black, but I see your point. I think there are a couple reasons for that. First, a lot of those manufacturers are pretty small. Second of all, they usually make special bikes for the Olympics because there are restrictions on how many logos can be on the frame and everything. So then it's probably the simplest just to take a black frame, slap the logos on, and ship it out. Which would be a little bit strange because it's not like people are very surprised that the Olympics are taking place. You sort of know this 4-year interval in which they happen, and so you can prepare things. But it's something that I always wondered in general about the Olympics. Before, like when we first had bikes at the Olympics, well, '96 a bike at the Olympic, but when we really were producing bikes and had bikes at the Olympics, it always surprised me that nobody was doing a special paint scheme for the Olympics. They all had their regular bikes and took tape to mask half of the logos because the Olympic rules were so strict. And then they rode with these really ugly looking bikes with black tape all over it, which I guess would help if your whole bike was black, then the black tape wouldn't show so much. And so we started making special Olympic bikes, which of course we couldn't call Olympic, and had some sort of ring theme on them without being Olympic rings. And I thought that was really cool. And now you see more and more brands doing special bikes for Olympics, even though they usually don't have a very Olympic theme. They're just all red or all green or all whatever color. But why the track bikes haven't followed, I don't know. Maybe people don't find the track important enough. I really have no idea. It's a good question. Maybe we should put together a task force on this one. Matisse. Hi, Matisse. Matisse asked if there are any plans for an open road bike. Well, there's always plans. There's plans for all sorts of stuff. So, and just like with everything, if we think of a road bike that we really would want to ride, and it doesn't exist yet, then we'll build it. So, it's not so easy, right? I've designed road bikes for a long time, and to come up with good new ideas that are really interesting enough, where Andy and I say like, yeah, that's really what we want to do. It's yeah, it takes time. So and we're not in a rush. That's the good thing for us. We're big enough as we are with the Up and the One Plus. We're quite happy with how everything goes. Our families aren't starving, and so we'll probably at some point make a road bike if we have a good idea on what it should look like, and if that's something really exciting and not just exciting for the market, but also exciting for Andy and myself. So right now, I'm quite happy actually riding the Up, riding the Up with the slick tires from time to time. Although I usually put some bigger and knobby tires in, but so I'm I'm really happy with that. So maybe the answer is yes. We are making one already, which is that thing behind there. Um, but a true dedicated road bike that has a tighter tire clearance and things like that, and maybe an even racier geometry than the Up already has. I really don't know why. But I think again to come back to the Up, I think the need is a lot less at this point, because even when you put 47 millimeter Road Plus tires on, or something in that range, the Up really still handles like a true road bike. So I think the Up is quite amazing in that regard, and I'm very happy with using that on road and off road now. So we'll see. Um, Andres, okay, he has a question about cross country geometry, but it's a bit of a longer one, so I'll read it to you because otherwise you just don't know what the hell I'm doing here, being all silent. So, thanks to share your knowledge and time. Oh, that's all right. Let's go. In my opinion, cross-country geometries haven't changed much in the last years, but the courses do. So I'm looking for slacker head tube angles and shorter chain stays. What do you think about this? Well, I think I've spoken out about that several times. I definitely think geometries have changed quite a bit for a lot of bikes. A lot of bikes have gone slacker, and I'm not a big fan, or I should say, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan about how it's usually done. It usually comes from a complete misunderstanding of how geometry works. So, for example, courses have gone a lot rockier, which means that these rocks, as soon as you hit them, all these rocks just place forces onto your front wheel. And when you have a slacker head tube, and what comes with that also a bigger offset fork, it means that the slacker, the head tube, is the longer the trail is on the ground. So, and that trail acts as a lever. So if the forces now hit this this wheel with this bigger lever, it just means that you have bigger forces, or really torques, but in your hands they're forces again, that you have to counteract with your handlebar. Which is one reason why handlebars have gotten wider, because as you get this bigger and bigger lever on the front wheel, you have trouble to keep that under control. So now you get crazy wide handlebars, which of course, especially for cross country racing, a wider handlebar is not very good. It's not as aerodynamic. It's just simply not as fast. So we're creating a problem with these slacker head tubes that we don't need to solve through bigger handlebars, whereas the solution is not that. And the idea that a bigger trail creates more stability is just simply not true. It has a bigger ability when your wheel is crooked to push it back, because then again, that's this bigger lever. So when your wheel is off to the side, there's a bigger lever that pushes the wheel back straight. But the problem is when your wheel is straight, you have the bigger lever that pushes it out of whack. So it's a great way to solve the problem after you've created the problem. So I'd rather not create the problem and keep my trails much shorter than what the general trend is right now. And when people ride the bike, that always comes to the fore, that people actually like that about it. People initially always say, "Oh, I don't like a steep head tube." I say, you don't have to like the steep head tube, you just have to like how the bike handles. And in the end, everybody does. And you see that also now with the Design and Innovation Award. You see that, from what I could see, all the bikes they tested were full suspension bikes, except for the One Plus. And so these full suspension bikes, of course, they often have even slacker head tubes, like up maybe 69 degrees, 70 degrees, even less than that. So the One Plus is very steep relative to that. And yet, in that field, when you see people, ride down these descents on their full suspension bikes, and then there's one guy in between with the One Plus, he has no problem. He has the right tires, he has the right geometry, and he can do that. So, I guess in short, not a fan of the trend of geometry towards slacker head tube angles. The shorter chainstays, I do like that in general. So uh, I don't like these mammoth chainstays that you see on some bikes, but the slacker head tubes, no, not really a fan. Oh yeah, well that couldn't be far behind. Now that I answered a question about the French motion fork, somebody asked about the German. Was it called answer forks, or they used to be called answer, but now they're called German A, I think. So yeah, I mean that's another fork that's very light and very interesting. What's holding German A back a little bit, I think, especially on their lightest fork, is that the whole steering sizing has moved to a 1.5 inch lower bottom bracket and lower bearing shell, and the German A forks have not. So now you need to start to work with adapters, and even if you work with adapters, just giving up a lot of stiffness by having a pretty skinny steerer at the bottom instead of going to the 1.5 inch. So I hope they would update those designs. I go and see them every Eurobike and take a look at their lineup, because I've always found that a very interesting fork. But yeah, we just need to wait a little bit, I guess. And I understand it's a small company, so they can only do one thing at a time. And I certainly can offer up some sympathy for small companies and the fact that they can't do everything that people want them to do. So we'll just have to be patient, I guess. So another question by Matt, which is, do we have any ideas to do our own components? I think it's sort of the same as doing a frame. We would do our own component if we see something where we go, oh, we really want to do this. So we had an idea for a component that we've been working on a little bit, but not too seriously. But right now there isn't really. I'm just trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. There aren't really any components that we're working on very seriously at the time. So it may come again. It's not like there's a rule in the company not to do it, but of course we do have a rule about wanting to keep things simple. So if we want to keep things simple, that means we have to have a very, very good reason to do something. And for components, I can't really think of one. But if you can think of a reason why we should do a certain component, then please let me know what component that is, and maybe that sparks something, and we'll work on it. So yeah, by all means, let us know. But I think we work obviously a lot with the Envy and with 3T, and for our Bike of the Month, we try to work with all sorts of components just to show you a whole bunch of different options that you have. So you'll see also Thompson parts and some crazy German light stuff, and MCFK or Bike Ahead. So we try to be as agnostic as possible about the components and showcase what options you have. But by all means, if you have any ideas, send it over to us, and we'll probably ignore it. But hey, if it's a very good idea, we'll do it. All right, Andres again. Let me just check here. Another long question, so I'll read it to you. As a small manufacturer, do you have insurance in case your customer has a problem? Now I think I know who Andres is. Yes, we have insurance, and I would definitely recommend you have too. So I guess Andres is a small frame maker himself. So yes, I mean, I don't know. I've always had insurance from day one, but that's also because my first company, of course, was in North America. And in North America, I don't know how you would, you can't get a bank loan, you can't get anything if you don't have insurance. So I would definitely recommend that. I mean, hey, the problem is not how good your products are, right? The problem is how annoying this one customer is that falls off his bike and ends up suing everybody from the people who made the road to any motorist who was within 500 feet to the bike manufacturer, the tire manufacturer, the wheel manufacturer, and the helmet manufacturer. So it doesn't really matter if you're really at fault. What matters is that if you get sued in the wrong place by the wrong person, it costs you $50,000 or $100,000 just to defend yourself so that you don't have to pay anything. And even then, you often still have to pay something to make it go away. So to be able to just say to your insurance, like, hey, here's the problem, deal with it, still doesn't mean you don't have to spend your time on it, because they will need a lot of information from you. But at least they know how that world works, right? If you get sued once every 5 years, you just don't have the experience to deal with that, and your insurer does. So there you go, a little business advice. Let's see if the next one is about bikes again. It is. So about fitting the up on trainers, or whether the up fits on the Tech Neo, for example. The Tech Neo, I'm assuming that's the one with where you have to take the rear wheel off and you hang the whole thing onto the cassette that's already attached to the trainer. I'm not 100% sure about that. So if not, then I apologize. But I guess the answer is anyway that I don't really know. Andy and I don't ride on trainers. We ride outside. If it snows or rain, or we don't really care. We ride outside. To us, the joy about cycling is being outside. If I want to ride inside, I just reincarnate as a hamster. But no offense to people who like riding outside, but for me, it's just too mind-numbing. I can't do it. So what I can tell you is that the frame is definitely strong enough to be used on trainers. We get that question a lot. I don't know how the Neo works with the through axle. I know that, say, a year ago there was a lot of problem with trainers that didn't really figure out how to work with through axles, but I think most trainer companies have solved that because there's just so many bikes with through axles now. So I would almost assume it's not a problem, but I mean, our through axle is a standard X12 Synthase 142 millimeter through axle, so I would assume that Tax knows how to answer that question better than we do. So I hope that answers. If you can't find the right answer, then please just send me a message through the contact form that's normally on the left side of this page, but I think not right now because we removed everything to make room for the screen. But on any other page, if you click through later on after the broadcast, you'll see the contact form. So just send me a message if you don't find the answer from Tax. All right. Now a question for Brian, an open owner global meetup. This is a very good one and very timely too. So he wonders if there's a plan to have a global open meetup, and actually there is an idea. There was an idea. We almost pulled the trigger on this to do one in February, nice and cold in Switzerland, and do an up ride. Which anyways, Andy always has had this dream of doing a ride and have it end with a great Swiss fondue, and he had a perfect place for it too, but it looks like the place will not be ready in time to do that, and it's a complicated story. Anyways, so we will now more than likely do a global meetup in Switzerland in early May. So we hope to have the dates and all the information for you in the next couple of weeks in a blog. So the answer is yes, we will do a global meetup, and maybe, just maybe, if we find the time, we will do another meetup next year, and maybe we do it stateside. It would be nice to do one in North America, or maybe Canada, or the US, one of the two, or Mexico. I guess that's North America as well. But yes, this year, Switzerland, almost certain, somewhere in May. So we hope you can all make it. Now I have one last question. I think it's 10:30, so we'll do this last one. If there is any story behind each letter color in the open logo. So Green stands for grass, brown stands for dirt, orange stands for, the really kind of loose, sandy kind of, and rocks that have that color, and the blue stands for the sky or the rain you might ride in or the lake you ride towards. However, that's an explanation we thought about after we made the color. So the real question, I guess, is no. There are four colors that go together nicely, we think, and there are four colors that are not part of the pool of death bike colors that are red, white, and black. Right, almost everything in this bike world is red, white, and black. So green, orange, cyan, blue, and brown are definitely not. So no, it looked together nicely, and we went with it, and now we're stuck with it. So if you don't like it, then tough luck. So that also means that most of our bikes are, of course, black or one of those four colors. If you don't like them, of course, there's the opportunity to buy a ready-to-paint frame and have it painted any way you like. If you go actually to the updates just above here, you will see one pretty crazy custom painted up frame, and also last month's bike of the month was a 1 Plus that was custom painted. So that's always an option. And then we have a couple of limited editions that we are doing with some other brands. Of course, we've done one with Rafa in the past, and we're now about to do another one. And there's also RNA Cycle in New York that has a limited run of some frames just for themselves. They're gray, if you like that. And I think there'll be some other shops as well that will do a limited run of a color scheme just for them. So there's plenty of options in color, I guess, if you don't like the black 1 Plus or the orange or brown up. So that's it for now. If I think I got around to all the questions, I'll quickly check. If not, then oh, now you gotta start sending a whole bunch of new questions. Okay, I'll just continue a little bit with these then. All right, Frank asks. Frank has, I think, an answer. Frank maybe he's Dutch. Frank Hanewinkel. Maybe he's even from Tax if he's Dutch. So he says there is an adapter from Tax for through axle bikes for the Neo. Regards. So that's an answer right there for Derek. Thanks, Frank, for the information. Much appreciated. Glad to have you on the live webcast. And then I have a question from KP. He said, I had my new ride today on my up. You can see the build in the showcase. So everybody over to the showcase after this webcast and check out KP's bike. And his question is whether or not I have any things I would like to change on the up. That's a good question. I mean, on the one hand, I always want to change things. As soon as the bike is in production, I go like, oh, I'd like to change this. But on the other hand, I think, unlike most other bikes I've designed in my life, I'm still just 100% happy with the up. So that doesn't mean I don't want to change things, but when I go ride the up, I never have these thoughts like, oh, I wish this or I wish that. I do have thoughts about, on the next up, whenever that is, or the next bike, hey, we should try this or try that, and then, I make a note and I come back to it later. But I never ride the up dissatisfied because something is not the way I want it. So I hope that answers the question.